Parallelism is a rhetorical device that's about working with sentences, and this video will give you a bit of a starting point for understanding how you can bring this to your own writing. Parallelism refers to the repetition of words and word patterns for rhetorical and rhythmic effect. It often involves the juxtaposition of two ideas to show their stark difference or to reveal their connection. Now, there are a lot of forms of parallelism, and these are just a few of them, but you shouldn't get stressed about the terms. It's actually about the patterns that are important, whether or not you know the specific terminology that you should be using. Here is an example from Barack Obama. There is not a liberal America and a conservative America. There is the United States of America. So here we have using language to contrast ideas. This is antithesis. There is not a black America and a white America and Latino America and Asian America. There is the United States of America. So here we have a sequence of conjunctions, the use of the word and to accumulate ideas and to gather pace. This is called polysyndeton.
There are three things that Obama does that really makes that speech effective. He wants concrete detail. He likes story, and he loves antithesis, the use of repetition and structure to show contrast. There is not a liberal America or a conservative America. There is one America.
There is not a black America and a white America and Latino America and Asian America. There's the United States of America. The pundits like to slice and dice our country into red states and blue states, but I've got news for them too. We worship an awesome God in the blue states, and we don't like federal agents poking around in our libraries in the red states. We coach Little League in the blue states, and yes, we've got some gay friends in the red states. We are one people, all of us pledging allegiance to the Stars and Stripes, all of us defending the United States of America.
Aaron Sorkin is one of the most important screenwriters of our time. He's best known for his television work on The West Wing and The Newsroom, as well as the films Social Network and A Few Good Men. When you watch his films and his television shows, you see a lot of examples of really overt use of rhetorical devices. What I would like to do now is to show you an example from The West Wing in which parallelism features in an argument about whether or not we should invest in the space program.
I spoke to my dad. I'm sorry about Galileo.
You've got a lot of tests they can still try.
How much money is it going to cost to try him?
Don't start with me.
I'm asking as a taxpayer. It costs $165 million to lose the thing. How much more money is it going to cost to make sure you're never going to find it?
I don't know, Mallory, but we certainly won't divert any municipal tax dollars, which are always best spent on new hockey arenas.
No, it's best spent feeding and housing and educating people.
There are a lot of hungry people in the world, Mal, and none of them are hungry because we went to the moon. None of them are colder, and certainly none of them are dumber because we went to the moon.
And we went to the moon. Do we really have to go to Mars?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's next. Because we came out of the cave, and we looked over the hill, and we saw fire. And we crossed the ocean, and we pioneered the West, and we took to the sky. The history of man is hung on a timeline of exploration, and this is what's next.
I know.
People like you.
Now, I'm not going to get lost in the actual terminology of what we're talking about here. It's the patterns I want you to pay attention to, and I've highlighted them here. There are a lot of hungry people in the world now, and none of them are hungry because we went to the moon. None of them are colder, and certainly none of them are dumber because we went to the moon. So that repetition of none of them are, none of them are, none of them are, is a really effective rhetorical device to accumulate these ideas here to present a convincing case that going to the moon is not at odds with the humanitarian work we should do here on Earth. And then he follows on, why should we go to, we've been to the moon, why should we go to Mars? Because it's next, because we came out of the cave and we looked over the hill and we saw fire and we crossed the ocean and we pioneered the West and we took to the sky. The history of man is hung on the timeline of exploration, and this is what's next. We have a range of repetitions here. The repetition of it's next, the repetition of the word cause it's next, because we came out of the cave, and most importantly, with the sequence of ands and we looked over the hill and we saw fire and we crossed the ocean and we pioneered the West. So here we have these parallels throughout this just to keep building the case here of why we should go to Mars. Importantly, in this last bit, you saw a sequence of short phrases. and it concludes with a long phrase. The history of man is hung on the timeline of exploration, and this is what's next. So that parallelism there really works well for building a case and for building a rhythm in the language. So let's look at some ways you can use parallelism. There are many of them, and here are just a few. You can set two contrasting ideas against each other. We are not X, we are Y. We can say things in three ways. Start with a short, give another short, then say it again with a long flourishing phrase. You can repeat a phrase at the start or the end of successive ideas. It is true that X, it is true that Y, it is even true that Z. So these are some formulae here that you can use for parallelisms. Finally here, you could tie successive ideas together with or without conjunctions. We listened and we heard and we paid attention and we learned. Or you could say we listened, heard, paid attention, learned. Both of those are examples of parallelism, and they use two different techniques, one with a sequence of ands and one taking the conjunctions out. So what are some of the effects we can achieve using parallelism? We can use contrast to challenge the audience's ideas or an opponent's argument. We could create rhythm in our writing and our speech. We can accumulate ideas one after the other. And we can use this to inspire our audience. Audiences are drawn to rhythmic uses of language. So, parallelism is a really neat device you can use in many different ways to control your audience's attention. There are numerous devices there. You can become a scholar and learn all of these, and that's really to be encouraged. But also, it's about understanding patterns and rhythms and repetitions of phrases. If you can have a variety of these devices at hand, then you're well on your way to producing some really good rhetorical writing.